The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me.
Still here.
Do you think that you could repeat the question? And I listen.
They try and try and try and try, and you got to give them credit, though. You got to give them credit. They keep trying.
Oh, and you're still here on the air?
Yep.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. Somebody came in a week or so ago trying to get you off the air here, telling us that we shouldn't.
Trying to pull me off the air?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet I know who that is.
I think it had to do with everything that's going on.
Yeah, the people coming after me legally and trying to. That's all right.
I wasn't here for it. I got told secondhand.
I've hired a whole new set of attorneys to handle something like that exact issue. Mr. Jonathan was telling me when I came in. Still here. It's amazing how arrogant some people can be when they think they have the upper hand. And by the way, since my legal trouble started, I've had no less than 10 businesses call me and say, hey, I heard you're having legal troubles with these individuals. And we've had issues with these individuals. We want to help. And they're buying ads like crazy. We have 5 new sponsors starting today.
Wow.
And we've got, I think, 8 new advertisers in the Valley Patriot starting next week.
Wow.
Everybody.
Ba, 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 ba.
So win, lose, or draw, it's not really going to matter on my end. I keep going. I keep doing what I'm doing. And you want to be in the August Valley Patriot. I'm promising you that. If you're a business, you want to be in the August Valley Patriot. For sure. And you don't hear me say that a lot. That's not like a sales pitch.
Right.
All right, what do you think? Get this show on the road?
Yeah, why not?
Especially since there are certain people who don't want this show on the road. Yeah, I was actually thinking of getting rid of the show, and the more they try to get me off the air is, now I'm like, you know what, I was actually thinking of doing away with it, but now I'm just going to stick around forever.
There you go.
Especially with the new advertisers coming on board. All right, hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan, and with the Paying Attention podcast. Hi, atop Two Guys Smoke Shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. We got a bunch of new sponsors on the program. We have a bunch of new advertisers coming in the Valley Patriot. Next week, it's going to be a 2-hour extravaganza next Thursday. So you want to make sure you put some time aside. If you can't watch us or listen to us live because you work during the day, as most of my viewers and my readers do because they actually have jobs and have lives, unlike certain other people. The majority of the people who follow me actually have jobs, so whether you're watching us live or you're watching us on a rebroadcast or you're catching us when you can you pull me up just a little bit? For some reason, I hear, it sounds like there you go, that's good. It pops a little bit. Well, they said, so
next week, double show, not a 2-hour show, people.
Next week, you wanted to, in fact, because we're doing a double show next week, I'm going to run some commercials in between the first hour and the second hour. And so if you want to be in on that, please let me know. I'll give you a really good price. It's going to be a great show. I've been looking forward to this since March of this year. And we've got some great breaking stories about Lawrence coming. And so that's it. That's my pitch for next week. You're either in or you're not in. But if you're in, you're trust me, a lot of people are going to be watching that show. A lot of people are going to be watching it. I want to thank Enterprise Bank for coming to TMF last night. Jessica and Marilyn and Jennifer and Jesus and everybody at Enterprise Bank in Lawrence and Methuen, who are big supporters of the Valley Patriot. They sponsored our bash this year. They sponsored our scholarships this year. Came to TMF last night. They brought food, and not only did they bring food, it's always nice when someone brings food, right? They come, they bring food, they drop it off, they leave. I'm not insulting people who do that at all, but it means a little bit more when they bring food and they stay and they serve it and they have conversations with the homeless and they talk to people and find out what they need and they become part of our network of people. So I want to thank everybody at Enterprise Bank in Lawrence and Methuen for caring enough about the community. Jessica brought her entire staff and they stayed for the night. It wasn't like they came and they were there for a little while, and then once the selfies were over, they went home. They were there. They were like some of the last people to leave. Like I was the last guy to pull out of the lot last night, and I think they were like the third to last to leave. Like they were there. So I appreciate them. And also, I always neglect my friend Mike Agricola and Philip Wood from Salvatore's Restaurant in Lawrence, who are advertisers in the paper and sponsor everything that we do. They also pitched in, I think, 10 or 15 pizzas last night for the homeless. And they're always doing so much for the community, and I never get a chance to thank them on the show, so I want to thank them for that. All right, let me, I know I said I was going to do this mid-show, but let's just get it out of the way. I want to thank all of our sponsors. Century 21, McLennan Real Estate. My friends can write all these down, so you can go to all my sponsors and tell them they shouldn't be sponsoring me. So that when they all call me and email me, I can give that to my lawyers and we can proceed that way. Century 21, McLennan Real Estate in Methuen. We love Sam. Sam is a great guy, but Sam is everywhere. Like he's never around. Every time I go on, he's like at some concert or he's in the Bahamas. He's like that guy. If you want to talk about somebody enjoying life, Sam McLennan's the guy that enjoys life. Matt McLennan too. These two guys, they're everywhere. So we want to thank them for their sponsorship. The Zany Pesci Law Office. If you have a bankruptcy issue, a real estate issue, you want to call them. Marsan and Son Construction. Love Ronnie Marsan, such a great guy. EIS Investigation and Gun Training. Tomo and Shaken Seafood. Yeah, hey, you guys that are trying to get me off the air, go talk to Aaron and show him your little paperwork that you're showing people, and tell him that he shouldn't be sponsoring my show and see how far that gets you. Clear Path for Veterans New England, a new sponsor. He was actually an old sponsor who heard we were having troubles and said, you know what, I want to help. He's also back. Doug Mercurio from the Mercurio Law Office and Prime Insurance. Where did we leave off? AFC Urgent Care. I know for sure that in September we're going to have Zaka from AFC Urgent Care on the show. We had lunch last week and we kind of firmed that up. We just have to firm up a date. Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, and I know that Dave Idconsoli at Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors is looking for help desperately. So if you want a job, if you want to work, forget if you want a job. Everybody wants a job, but no one wants to work. If you want to work and you want to make some decent money working for a decent guy, give Dave Idconsoli a call at Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, and a shout out to his son Michael, who hopefully is feeling better. Another new advertiser coming on board. Heard we were having some issues. 11 Restaurant. They're going to be opening very shortly, I think sometime in the next 2 weeks, at 266 Essex Street in Lawrence. It is Dominican food. It is gourmet Dominican food. So we're going to be spending a lot of time there. And there will be certain people who won't be allowed there, so we can actually go in and have a good time and not worry about getting set up. And Chris's Barbershop in Salem, New Hampshire. I don't have the exact address in front of me, or maybe I do. Let me just take a quick look and see if I got the address here for you, because he's technically not supposed to start till next week, but I want to give him a free shout out even though. 401 Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire. So you know where he is if you want to get a haircut from a great guy. Chris Alvarado at Chris's Barbershop is right above Sevmar on Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire. So go in, tell him that you heard on the podcast that we gave him a free shout out. He's a good guy, and he's got a great business there. I spent a lot of time with him. Tuesday, I think, Monday or Tuesday, I went down and was hanging out with him. We were chatting about the elections and stuff. And he's a good guy. Chris's Barbershop, 401 Main Street above. So here's what you do. You go to Chris's, you get your hair cut, and then you go downstairs and you have some dinner at Sevmar, because Jocelyn is a wonderful person, and Sevmar has amazing Lebanese food. And we love Jocelyn, and we love her partner, Kelvin, and everybody there at Sevmar. So go in, and by the way, I'm going to... I know I said I was going to start doing this, and then I stopped doing it. a meal of the week, meal of the month. What did I call it? Dinner of the week. Dish of the month, right?
Month or week?
Yeah, because I can't do it every week.
Okay, dish of the month.
Right? We'll do it once a month.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's not just going to be like people advertising with me. We'll go places that don't advertise. There are some great restaurants. We are going to do a restaurant show. So next week we're doing the 2-hour show. And then I think the following week, before we get heavy into the elections, we're going to do a restaurant show. We're going to do like a food show, a summer food show. Like, where can you get really good scallops, where not to go for scallops? Like, I love Joe Fish because they're right around the corner. Don't go there if you want scallops. Just don't, right? But there are other places you definitely want to go for scallops, like New England Seafood on Merrimack Street in Methuen. Tiny little place. You wouldn't think they'd have great seafood like they do, but they do. And they're not an advertiser. So we will do that. Did I forget anybody else? Let's see. We thanked Enterprise Bank. A free shout out to Dawn's Sign Tech, who was also coming in because she heard we had some issues. And so it's really great that, like, there were people that I expected when I started having legal issues with certain people in the community. There were certain people I expected to step up to the plate and say, hey, Tom, I want to help because they're my friends and I've helped them. And they didn't. They either didn't, or even worse, they didn't and they ran to the other side. What I'm really surprised at is all of the people that I haven't really helped out that much, that I haven't really, they don't owe me a favor, I haven't done things for them, that have stepped up to the plate and called me and said, I want to write you a check. Because we understand, we've been through it, we know these individuals. So thank you to everybody who's been coming on board. We appreciate all the new business. We got a bunch of new advertising starting next week, and we will promote the living crap out of you. I have 16,000 followers on my Facebook page. We have 12,000 or 13,000 on the Valley Patriot page, another 4,000 or 5,000 on Twitter, another 1,100 on LinkedIn. I don't know what we have for Snapchat and Instagram. It's not a lot, but it trails off after that. We have a huge social media reach. So please reach out to us. We'll be happy to promote you. There's an election coming up. A lot of people are going to start paying more attention to what the Valley Patriot Network is doing, especially after Monday. And when all of that starts to happen, you want to ride that wave. You want to be part of that because everyone's going to be watching. Everybody wants to know what's going on. All right, so what should we talk about today? Got a couple of things. Before I hit the national topic, Turtle Boy, his name is Aiden Kearney. He's been on the show. We actually gave him an award before he started publicly attacking me. It's amazing how ungrateful some people are. But Aiden, like him or don't like him, and personally I've got an issue with the way he treated me publicly. But putting that aside for a minute, was sued for defamation and slander. And I posted yesterday, it's on my Facebook page, on my personal page. I think I even shared it on the Valley Patriot page. He was sued by a fake reverend in Boston because he was mocking him for being a fake reverend. And the guy sued him for defamation and for slander and for libel, because I think he actually did a podcast about it. And he won. Turtle Boy won, and when I was reading through, it was hard to believe this was Massachusetts I was reading about. But I got to say one thing for the liberals in Massachusetts, for all the crap that I give them because I'm on the opposite side of most of their political beliefs, most of the political views of the liberal Democrats, I'm usually on the opposite end of that politically. But I will say this, when it comes to the First Amendment in Massachusetts, the liberals are not where the liberals are on the national level. The liberal Democrats in Massachusetts, especially the judges, especially the people on the governor's council. We had Marilyn Petito Devaney on the show a couple weeks ago. People who pick the judges, people who confirm the judges. They care about the First Amendment. I read through this with delight. I read through that entire ruling in favor of Turtle Boy and his free speech right, and I read it with delight because I could not believe I was reading a Massachusetts court putting out a decision like that. And it gave me hope. It made me realize that, you know what? For all the times that you think things are going bad and it's not going to get any better, you read something like that and go, you know what? There actually is hope for the state of Massachusetts. There really is a chance that we can save free speech in Massachusetts. And speaking of free speech, we brought on a new attorney at the Valley Patriot. I want to welcome Attorney Gregory Sullivan, who is the lead counsel for the Manchester Union Leader, is now part of the Valley Patriot team. And next Thursday, when we start talking about that issue, I'm going to even invite him on the show. I don't know if he'll come on, but we're going to talk about that issue. So let's talk a little bit. And I don't even know if I'm going to do the whole show on this because I don't know that I have a whole show to do on this. because everybody's talking about the presidential race. And I don't know that I can add anything more than what's being said on the national average, on the national stage, right? You've got CNN. What I like to do, here's what I like to do, because I'm a media guy who hates the media, which is a very weird position to be in, which is why I started my newspaper, because I hated the way the rest of the media reports stuff. So I'm really more watching how the media is handling what's going on in the presidential race. I have my views. I'm voting for RFK. I'm voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I've been saying that now since, I think, over a year, I think I've been saying I'm voting for RFK, which is great because when all these idiot Democrat cult members come on my Facebook page and start insulting Donald Trump, I just agree with them and then talk about how bad their candidate is. And then they talk about how bad Donald Trump is. And they go, yeah, but I'm not voting for him. So that doesn't work in this conversation. Now, why don't you address what I'm bringing up about your candidate? Because cult members on the left and the right, on both sides, the Trump supporters and the Democrat Biden / now Kamala Harris supporters, whenever you point out a deficiency in their candidate, whenever you point out that their candidate did something stupid, whenever you point out that their candidate is wrong on something or did something wrong or did something hypocritical, the first thing most cult members, this is how you can tell whether somebody's a supporter or a cult member. If you're a supporter, you address the issue. If you're a cult member, you go, yeah, but your guy is worse. So today, there was a posting on a Facebook page called Partisan Exchange. And this was great because you've got far right-wing people and far left-wing people, very few people in the middle. And the administrators are very good at not letting people insult each other. They've actually called me out a couple times on this. And so people actually have to have a conversation. They can't just shout insults at each other. But I thought this was a great microcosm of what's going on in the media today, because you've got Fox News on the right. Your right, my right, right? You got Fox News on the right. You got Newsmax. You got One American Network. On the left, you've got everything else. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Boston Globe, LA Times, all the rest of the media are on the left. So instead of having media that just tells you what's going on and allows you to decide for yourself whether that's a good or a bad thing, you've got the Fox Newses of the world that come out and tell you, Sean Hannity will come out to, if Donald Trump steps outside his Mar-a-Lago estate and pulls down his pants and takes a dump right in the middle of the road, Sean Hannity tonight will go on and go, it was the greatest dump ever. You wouldn't believe what a great dump this was. I bet you Joe Biden couldn't make a dump like that. Because everything Donald Trump does to Fox News, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, all of the hosts on Fox News think that Donald Trump walks on water. He can do no wrong. No matter what it is he's done, even if it's provably wrong, they will try and find a way to either excuse it or deny that it actually happened. On the other hand, you've got all of that going on the left. You've got CNN, MSNBC, no matter what's going on. If Joe Biden, look, let me just give you a perfect example. For all my liberal friends are going to say, that's not true, it's not true. They looked us in the face for 4 years and told us that Joe Biden was doing brain surgery behind the scenes, juggling chainsaws at the same time. This guy was so sharp. He was so bright. When we're in meetings with him, he might have flubs when he's at the camera, but you should see him behind closed doors. My God, he's designing rocket fuel. They looked you in the eye every day. Kamala Harris looked you in the eye every day. The clowns on CNN and MSNBC every day told you Donald Trump was in decline. And I'm not defending Donald Trump. I'm just telling you what it was. So the lies that we see in the media are on both sides. Unfortunately, it's not equal because the majority of the media is on the Democrat side. You've got Fox, and whenever I bring this up, whenever I'm on Facebook, whenever I'm in a discussion with people, and this comes up, the first thing that a cult member will do is say, what about Fox? What about Fox? Okay, well, that doesn't excuse what CNN did today. If I bring up something CNN did today, because that's all I watch in my office all day is CNN, and I bring up something that CNN did that was a blatant, outright lie, they don't defend the blatant, outright lie. They say, what about Fox? So both sides have now been conditioned. The cult members on both sides have been conditioned that when your side gets caught doing something bad, point to the other side. How does that help, is my question. How does that help? So this morning, and I'm going to give you another example. So this morning, maybe it was like, I don't know, last night. It was probably like maybe 1 a.m. I'm on this Partisan Exchange website, and there was a picture of Kamala Harris from the 80s, maybe the 90s. And her face is pale, but she's whiter than me. And she's got a very short hair, and somebody made the comment of something about, she looks like she was in, I don't know, some 80s band. Remember that hairstyle of the 80s where it was short on the side, but kind of high on top? Right? Wham! UK and those guys, right? So I looked at this and I thought, and again, I'm not voting for Trump. I like him. I like most of his policies, but I'm not voting for him. But I looked at this and I said, did I lose my left ear? So I must have just lost my hearing in my left ear. I looked at this and I said, what's interesting about this is not that Kamala Harris walks on water, because they're telling you now she walks on water, right? She's the new Martin Luther King. She's the new Rosa Parks. There it is. It's back. Must be The Wire. She's the new Rosa Parks. But I looked at this and I thought, why would Democrats, who are partisan cult member Democrats, post this photo of a very white Kamala Harris from the 80s or 90s and say how beautiful she looks, which she did. She did look beautiful. I admit she looked beautiful. I think she's a striking woman. I think she's more beautiful now than she was when she was in her 20s. I think she's gorgeous. That's just me. I know all my friends hate that I say that, but I think it's true, right? But they were looking at this picture going, wow, look how beautiful she is, but she had white makeup on. And I thought, wait a minute. All we get told by the Democrats, these same people that posted this photo, these same people talking about how beautiful she was, is that cultural appropriation is wrong. If a white guy puts on blackface, that's racism. So why is it okay for a black woman to wear whiteface while lecturing the rest of us about cultural appropriation? Because if you go on YouTube, you can find plenty of videos of Kamala Harris talking about cultural appropriation, trying to appropriate other people's culture. So first of all, if white people are bad, why are you trying to be white? Second of all, if you're so proud of being black, why are you trying to be white? You should have seen the firestorm I kicked off making that comment. Holy crap. You would have thought I ran over people's dogs the way these people were responding. And then I got to come up with a term for this, because it's a phenomenon that I see that I never saw 20 years ago and I never saw 10 years ago, but now it's prevalent everywhere. And it's a phenomenon. It's happening on every level. And here's what happened. Several people came on after my comment and said, what is your proof that she's trying to look white? Well, let's see. She put white makeup on her black face, which is the definition of trying to look white. Like the purpose, you go to get a haircut, and you come out of the barbershop, and you've gotten a haircut at Chris's barbershop. And I say, hey, Jim got a haircut. You would sound like an idiot if you said, well, what's your proof that he got a haircut? What's your proof that he intended to get a haircut? What, did he just fall on the razor and it just happened to cut his hair that way? Did she just fall? So one woman, her name was Juju, J-U-J-U, came on and said, you obviously know nothing about makeup. There's no such thing as white makeup. You can't make your face white. You're a woman, is that true?
I mean, there's makeup that matches my skin tone, so that would be
it would make you white.
Caucasian, I guess, yeah.
So I posted a photo of Gene Simmons from Kiss and said, what is your proof that he intended to look white in this photo? Right?
Right.
And as this conversation is going on, it devolves into, well, Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that, Trump. So I let them go. Okay, fine, Trump. These people are obsessed with Trump. If Adolf Hitler came back from the dead and ran against Trump, they'd vote for Adolf Hitler. They would. They absolutely would. If Idi Amin came back from the dead, they would vote for Idi Amin. If Jeffrey Dahmer came back from the dead, they would vote for Jeffrey Dahmer. Because they've been conditioned and brainwashed to believe that Donald Trump is the worst person who has ever lived because he's not a Democrat. Because he's running against them and he's taking away their power. So after all the Trump, I let them go. I let them spin out of control. Trump is this. You're voting for a sex offender. You're voting for this. You're voting for a convicted criminal, and on and on and on and on and on. And when they were done, I said, yeah, but I'm not voting for Trump. So can we now get back to the topic at hand? And no one had anything to say, which is very telling. That's how you can tell the difference between a cult member and a supporter. I know people who support the Democrat Party, but they're not cult members. You point out that, wow, Kamala Harris looks awfully white. She's using white makeup to appropriate white culture while she's lecturing the rest of us. And someone who's a supporter came on and said, yeah, you're right, she probably shouldn't have done that. Boom, conversation over, right? I've got nowhere to go. I've got nowhere to go in that conversation. So as the country gets more and more divided, we see more and more people jumping to the right or to the left, and very few people in the middle. Now, in full disclosure, if you don't know this already, and you should if you watch this show on a regular basis, I'm a right-wing lunatic. I agree with just about everything Donald Trump says. I agree with his platform. I agree with his policies. Okay? However, there are things that I don't like about what Donald Trump has said and done, because I'm not a cult member. Now, there are some people who, no matter what he says, no matter what he does, the Sean Hannitys of the world, they're going to be with him, and the same on the other side. But we all need to really, I think, kind of abandon that. Let's stop with that. Be ready to say, you know what, you're right, Donald Trump shouldn't have done that. There's a lot of things I think Donald Trump has done that I thought was bad for the country. I think the first thing he did when he got in was stop the droning program in South Africa, where Obama's CIA was droning Muslim terrorists in Africa and killing them, which means we don't have to put boots on the ground, which means our servicemen's lives are not being put at risk to take out terrorists. I thought that was a great idea. Didn't like Obama. And all my right-wing friends couldn't believe that I was going on Facebook every day saying Obama's right about this, because you can never give the devil their due. Here's the thing. If you really care about America, you need to give the devil their due. If you hate Donald Trump, you still need to come out and say when you think he's right, and you still need to consider that he might be right when he says things. And if you hate Kamala Harris and she comes out and she says something that's good, don't dismiss it. Like, for example, Donald Trump, when he was president, is the one who outlawed bump stocks on semi-automatic rifles, on AR-15s, to make it easier to shoot more bullets. And because he outlawed it, there was a lawsuit. It went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court didn't, by the way, the Supreme Court that's supposed to be all in Donald Trump's pocket, the ones because he appointed them, they just do whatever he says, they ruled against Donald Trump. So I went on CNN that day, waiting for the Democrats to say, well, you know what? There's at least one thing that we agree with Donald Trump on. Like, just give the devil his due. And they couldn't fucking do it. They couldn't do it. They got up and they said, well, he just did that for votes. He just did that because somebody told him that something would happen if he didn't do it that way. And they started explaining away why what he did wasn't good, even though they 100% agreed with his position. 100%. The Democrats for the previous 4 years had been begging Barack Obama to outlaw bump stocks. Had Barack Obama done it, he would have been a hero. But Donald Trump did it, nothing to see him move along. And I think on the other side, we need that too. Because you know what? If you want to convince me as a right-wing lunatic to vote for a Democrat, and I do vote for Democrats. I voted for Diana DeZoglio for state auditor. I supported Estella Reyes for state representative. I voted for Maura Healey when she ran for attorney general. I will vote for a Democrat if I think the Democrat's better than the Republican. So if you want to get a guy like me who's a right-wing lunatic, who's actually open-minded enough to vote for your candidate, you have to have credibility. And when you look people in the eye and you tell them that Joe Biden's juggling chainsaws while doing brain surgery behind the scenes, when you look me in the eye and you tell me that you can't use makeup to make somebody's face look white, when you look people in the eye and you say that the border is closed and secure, when we're watching videos every single day of millions of people streaming across the border, shooting at Border Patrol, you've got no credibility left. So now when you try to make a pitch for your candidate, you're really just preaching to the converted. You're preaching to your own crowd. You're throwing red meat to your own base. But people like me who might come to your side, if you can make a cogent argument as to why I should be voting for the Democrat, Look, I'm voting for Robert F. Kennedy. If you had told me even a year ago that a day would come when I would vote for a Kennedy, any Kennedy, for any reason, I would have bet you my entire life savings that would never happen. And here we are. Here we are. If you had told me when I was in my early 30s that a day would come when I would vote almost Democrat straight down the ballot, I would have bet all of my future earnings that would never happen. Yet in the last state elections, I think I only voted for one Republican. I think there was only one Republican worth voting for. There's a whole lot of reasons for that, by the way. Because my ideology doesn't trump common sense. For example, when Sean Tuohy ran for state senator against Katie Ives, well, Sean Tuohy was a crook. Why would I support a crook just because he got an R next to his name? The guy was corrupt. The guy had his father-in-law sitting in the front row of a debate, mouthing the answers to debate questions to him, and we caught him. And even though we had it on video, they outright denied it. So why would I vote for that guy? Of course I'm voting for the other candidate. I voted for pro-abortion, tree-hugging, pro-global warming Katie Ives. And by the way, glad I did. Because then when I wanted to submit my public records law to be passed by the House, the Senate, and be signed by the governor, Katie Ives happily carried it through. She submitted it in the Senate. Diana DiZoglio, Democrat, submitted it in the House with Republican Jim Lyons. I had bipartisan support. And when in Massachusetts you have bipartisan support for anything, and then it was signed by the Republican governor, who wasn't really a Republican, Charlie Baker. But how did I get that done? You know how I got that done? Because common sense trumps ideology, or it should. So if your ideology tells you that voting for Adolf Hitler is better than voting for the other side, there's something wrong with your ideology. Or maybe there's just something wrong with your priorities. Because I would rather have an honest politician who doesn't agree with any of my political views than a dishonest politician who agrees with all of my political views. So when it came time for me to vote a very conservative Sean Tuohy over a very liberal, left-wing Katie Ives, not only did I vote for her, I stood out and held signs for her. I wrote editorials endorsing her. And you should have seen the crap I got from my Republican friends. But you know what? Sometimes ideology is not the most important. Those of you running around crying about abortion, don't worry about your abortions. You're still going to be able to kill your babies when all this is over. No matter who wins the no matter who wins the presidential race, you're still going to be able to kill your babies. You are. Kamala Harris and the Democrats can come out and say, if we get elected, if the Democrats get elected, we're going to codify Roe into federal law, and it's going to be the law of the land across the country again. Bullshit. You can't. The Dobbs decision says it's a right left to the states. CNN comes out and says if Donald Trump gets elected, he's going to pass a law, a pro-life law saying that abortion is illegal, banning abortion across the country. Bullshit. The Dobbs decision says that it is a right left to the states. Both sides are lying. Both sides are lying. But when I vote for somebody I'm very pro-life, very, very pro-life. But I have voted for pro-abortion candidates. Diana DiZoglio is very pro-abortion. Katie Ives was very pro-abortion. I think, by the way, both state reps in Lawrence, Francisco Polino and Estella Reyes, are pro-life. Which is very weird. You have Latinos in Lawrence and a minority community that are so pro-life. But I'm pretty sure Frank Moran's not. And I'm very sure that Adrian Ramos in North Andover is not. I've supported many pro-abortion candidates. And those who are ideologues, whose ideology trumps everything, will come to me and say, but if you believe it's murder, how can you support murder? Because that's not my number one position. You're never going to stop abortion in Massachusetts. It's an 80% Democrat state. So I take that off the table and I look, are they an honest candidate? Are they going to lower my taxes or raise my taxes? Do they want more gun regulations or less gun regulations? Are they willing to stand up to their party when they think they're wrong? Those are the questions that I ask. And so when you're voting in the next election, those are the questions I think you should be asking. Are these people going to help my family, not do they fit my ideology? Because you could have a very bad person run on your side, on your party, spewing the same ideology that you have, but they're a very bad person. And you don't want that person holding elected office. As we've seen with some of the elected officials in the past that I have supported in Methuen, that I thought were good people. So I supported them despite the ideology change between us. And they turned out to not be good people. So I stopped supporting them. Doesn't make me a traitor. It means that they lied about who they were pretending to be. And when we found out who they really were, I could no longer support them. Politics shouldn't be a team sport. And I'm going to leave you with this. We got a minute left. Politics should not be a team sport. It should not be a situation where I'm going to support everyone on my team and I'm going to be against everybody on their team. That's how totalitarian regimes rise. If the Democrats had their way, they would do away with the entire Republican Party. We would be a one-party country. You know what that's called? There's a definition for that. It's called communism. I don't see it that much on the other side. I don't see it that much on the Republican side. But there are certainly a large number of Republicans who would do the same given the choice. I don't think Donald Trump is one of them. Although, I didn't think Donald Trump was the kind of guy that would treat Jeff Sessions the way that he did, which was the day that I jumped off the Donald Trump train. That was the day that I left. A guy that was totally loyal to you no matter what, and you just threw him under a bus, publicly humiliated him. All right, I want to thank our sponsors here. Thank you, Chrissy, by the way, for being my fine producer. You're good putting some extra time aside for next week.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
All right, very good.
Big double show.
Yep. Free shout out to. Oh, we didn't do a free shout out at the beginning of the show. You can roll up, Mel, to JG's Ice Cream. This is the time to be having JG's Ice Cream. Another free shout out to Dawn's Sign Tech. She's starting next week. Enterprise Bank for helping TMF last night. Chris's Barbershop on Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire, above Sevmar Restaurant. 11 Restaurant at 226 Essex Street. They're not open yet, but in the next 2 weeks they will be, and we'll be at the grand opening. Prime Insurance and the Mercurio Law Office in North Andover. So if you live in that North Andover area, they're in North Reading, you want to give them a call. Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, AFC Urgent Care, Clear Path for Veterans New England, a real nonprofit that really helps veterans and doesn't take money off the top. Clear Path for Veterans New England, Tomo and Shaken Seafood, the Zany Pesci Law Office, Century 21, McLennan Real Estate, Marston & Son Construction, and I think we said this, but we're going to say it again, EIS, Investigation and Gun Training. And I think we have 2 more starting next week. And I really want to thank everybody who knows that we're going through some legal issues and are flocking to the Valley Patriot to help. It really is helping. It's helping a lot. Reach out to me if you need, if you want to be one of those people. Melvin Taylor says you got to go home, so go home already.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.